Oh, it's been a rough few weeks. I've been going to the movies every week since I did the Wolverine. And The Family, if I posted that one. Basically, I've been going to the movies every week. And it's been pretty rough. The Family wasn't great, and I had quite a few problems with that. Romeo and Juliet wasn't terrible, but they pretty well just adapted straight from the book. The only thing that changes is how the actors approach the various characters, and a few things that I don't know if were intentional or not. The only one I would want to talk about significantly is the Carrie remake. But the more I thought about that, the more that there's just way too much to cram into one episode. So, especially in this where I'm just kind of talking straight without writing it down first. So I'm going to write it out, and so you may get that in a few weeks, because there's just so much that bothers me about the movie itself and kind of what it was trying to do and what it failed to do. But today I want to talk to you about Freebirds. And let me just say, if you're looking for a movie to take your kids to, Cloudy with a Chance Meatballs 2 is still playing. Even if you haven't seen 1, I'd recommend watching 2 over this. This movie is a mess. My God, is it a mess. I figured it was going to be a mess going in because it's about time traveling. Turkeys time traveling back to take turkeys off the menu from Thanksgiving. Except they travel back to the first Thanksgiving where there technically were no turkeys on the menu to start with, so I kind of went in expecting terrible mess. And I was right. I do not regret watching it because, one, it lets me tell you to stay the hell away from this. For the love of God, stay the hell away from this. Especially keep your kids away from this. Because it tries to teach a message. It teaches a decent message badly, and they're liable to learn things they can't unlearn. Like, if this is their first interaction with the first Thanksgiving, it will mess them up. Almost guaranteed. Maybe not significantly. Maybe they don't think that the turkeys tried to assault the pilgrims' camp with sharpened sticks and catapults launching flaming pumpkins, which they built those catapults surprisingly quickly considering they weren't planning on war, but that's the least of this movie's issues. Seeing the trailer, I kind of knew, like I said, it was going to be a mess because they're trying to go back and prevent something that technically didn't happen. But it's worse than I could have imagined. Much worse. They play up the Native American stereotypes, and in it they call them Indians, but I don't know, it's kind of a mixed ground there. We call them Native Americans, but the settlers might not, and they may have called them the natives. I don't remember what they called them. I waited like 2 days after watching it to make this, and I probably forgot half of it. The only things that sticked out were the parts that either really pissed me off or the parts that I'm like, that's kind of amusing. I wish we'd do more with this. Like, I don't know, something about the concept of turkeys waging war against the settlers was grand and amusing, but like before it even gets started, the time machine shows up and just resolves the plot, which is something I'll give the movie credit for. It likes to play up its faults, which, I won't blame you if you hate it for it, but I kind of gave it a to your point. Basically, since the movie is using a time machine to resolve the situation anyway, it does it in the like grandest, most like tied up neatly way possible. The giant floating egg machine shows up, takes away all the weapons that they were using to fight with. It brings the two sides to peace by providing pizza for the settlers and Native Americans, which just opens up so many plot holes, like how would they make more pizza? Why would Reggie and Jake need to go back in time if they technically took turkeys off the menu? Are they aware that pepperoni is made with a combination of, depending on the pepperoni and pepperoni where it's made, and I guess what parts they have at hand, but a lot of the pepperoni I've seen list on its ingredients chicken, turkey, pork, and beef. So they didn't really take it off the menu, they just reduced the significance. But it's almost like the movie makers went, well, we're resolving the plot with a time machine, so you know what? Fuck it, let's just go for it all. They even change history so turkeys have a more significant part. I'm just. They use lots of puns or attempted puns. I don't know, it wasn't quite punny enough to piss me off, but it does get tiring. Same with the overly long gags. It attempts to run gags long enough until they become funny again, but those tend to just piss me right the fuck off. And I know I'm cursing on a film about a children's movie, but honestly, you shouldn't let your children anywhere near this movie. Honestly, I think this movie would be better if you were drinking with friends and you took shots every time something stupid happens, just so that like 10 minutes in you can go find a better movie. Yeah, 10 minutes in. If that. It starts with a disclaimer that not meant to be historical, reaccurate, this is a work of fiction. Except for the talking turkeys, that's totally real. And I had a mixed feeling about that. One half of my brain went, fuck you, disclaimer, fuck you. And then went, I guess I am the asshole for showing up to a movie about talking turkeys time traveling and expecting historical accuracy. Well done. But still, fuck you. So right smack dab in the middle it is. I am the asshole, but fuck you. Oh. The most cursing I've ever done. It's over a children's movie. Fuck this movie. Let me see if I can rein it in for the last 5 minutes. But it's rare that a movie just aggravates me this much. The more I think about it, the more it aggravates me. But yeah, overly long gags. I just don't like those. You have a certain amount of time in your movie, hour and a half, or in your show, 30 minutes. It really, really aggravates me in 30-minute shows. I've turned off episodes of Family Guy because they have a 30-minute show, probably 20 if we're lucky with commercials, maybe 23. I'll give them a little bit of credit. And you're wasting somewhere between 1 and 3 minutes of it just with someone grabbing their knee and going, oh, 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 oh. Yeah, no, fuck you. Just fuck you. And it uses lots of these. Like, sometimes I don't mind it if it's a recurring gag, like it just kind of shows in the background or pops up once or twice, but it's brief and doesn't really eat up much of the time. But just, yeah, I used one of the times where they were running one of these gags to go to the bathroom. I think it was one of the 600 times that Jake and the past turkey go all alpha male and compete with each other, and I think that's the one where I came back and they had ended up in like some sort of dance. And this movie is just a mess. It's just a mess. Just run now, please. Don't show this to your kids, I beg you. I know I'm repeating this, but it can't be stressed enough. Oh. So this movie isn't intelligent at all. Someone with intelligence may have made this, but they actively decided not to use any of that. Or if to use it just in the kind of get out of jail free kind of way. For starters, the president shows up to pardon the turkey, but it's not the current president. So unless this movie's been in production since, I think Bill Clinton was the one they were kind of parroting, I have no idea why it wasn't the current president, or I think like Transformers did, where it's like just shrouded face and you kind of got a voice, which would have worked too. Most of the humans in this movie are terrible. Like, not necessarily terrible people, but just terribly written. You got the girl who saves Reggie, which is the kind of main turkey with Jake. She's just like bratty and narcoleptic and like has traits that you might see in kids, but so overplayed that it is just obnoxious. Obnoxious. Ugh. Obnoxious. I think the only amusing part about her is the scene, she gets her way by like crying, so the reporters are like, oh, the president made a girl cry. And then when she's running off the plane, like half insulting or blurting out people's secrets, like, she likes my daddy, but don't tell anyone. Both like overly loud, like, I don't think I've seen actual kids do it, but I remember a lot of TV kids doing it, so I don't know, maybe it exists and I just don't hang around kids enough. Anywho, I have about a minute left here, so to summarize this movie in the shortest way possible, it's kind of slow and bad leading up to the part where they hop into the time machine. The time machine rips a giant fucking hole in the plot that it never recovers from. And from out spews the stuff that even Lord Chaos would go, why are we doing this again? And that dude is insane. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere he had an army of turkeys ready to lead war on the settlers, but yeah, for me that was the only mildly interesting thing through most of the movie. The one thing I do want to give the film credit for is a lot of the humans' reactions are somewhat realistic. Like the lead hunter, who's depicted like kind of bad, even though the settlers are starving to death and they need food. Though I don't know why they couldn't hunt anything besides turkeys. But when he comes back saying the turkeys have magic and I saw them disappear, he's treated as crazy as he should be treated. And then later on, when they're hurling the flaming, or when the army of chickens kind of pops out over the horizon with pointed sticks, the villagers start laughing, like, what do they think they're going to do? And then they kind of get a, ooh, reaction when, like, the flaming pumpkins are landing, like, just short of their doorsteps, because, of course, they didn't build trebuchets big enough to actually hit the village. And then the headhunters, like, grab the cannons, and the guy he shouted it to is like, for turkeys? Yes! I'm like, yeah, I can see the reaction being, we're going to shoot turkeys with cannons, and we can't salvage the remains. And he gets sucked into the plot hole as well. That's what I'm going to call the hole that appears when the time machine shows up, because I think it only happens once, or twice. Both times to resolve something that's getting in the way of the plot. So yeah, plot hole. But anyway, please keep your kids away from this movie. Actually, watching this film and making this review has inspired me to go write something slightly more entertaining to tell you about the first Thanksgiving and various facts people might have wrong. So maybe I'll get that out before Thanksgiving, or maybe it'll get shelved and I'll do like some sort of weird holiday thing later on, because I'm a fan of Nightmare Before Christmas, and I sing This Is Halloween all year long, so I have no problem just throwing a holiday wherever I feel like. So, I'm Gator. Stay away from this movie. Have a nice day. Hopefully staying away from this movie.